Boris Johnson is to ban Chinese imports, Bill Gates is exposed as a hypocrite, and Priti Patel continues to fight the left on migration. Hello everyone and welcome to the first video of the day. We have a lot of updates on the relationship between the West and China. We've seen in the last few months a lot of pressure on the Western governments, including the UK government and Boris Johnson, in terms of changing the relationship that we have with the Chinese government and the CCP. Recently, Boris Johnson announced, well, it's been a few months, that we are banning Huawei's 5G network in the UK, and recently they said that they're actually bringing it forward. They were going to wait for a while, but now it's actually happening now. The latest that we have is that the Foreign Office have been talking a lot about Chinese imports and boycotting them. It seems like, according to Harry Cole in The Sun, that we are now, the plan is to actually outlaw Chinese imports because of, obviously, the abuse of human rights and all the things that the Chinese government have done, especially in 2020, but they've been doing it for decades and decades. So now Dominic Raab has been under pressure to actually completely go for a ban on Chinese imports. They've also done something else we're going to get into in a second, but so Dominic Raab has now been under pressure to actually use the Foreign Office to go against the Chinese mentality of essentially sending all their products and goods that come from places that human rights doesn't exist. And not only that, the Chinese government are taking advantage of the Western capitalist system in their own advantage. And so that's what's been happening for the past few decades. There's a reason the Chinese economy has been coming up, because the West just simply cannot compete on the same level, because in the words of the European Union, there is no level playing field when you trade with China. The other thing that they're bringing in, apart from the actual ban on the Chinese imports, is that the Foreign Secretary has announced that they will also toughen up the laws around exporting British goods or technology to China that could be used for repression. So the plans will be outlined to MPs tomorrow. This was obviously, it's going to be discussed this week in Parliament, and it will be coming to force very soon, because there's a mass support in Parliament on this issue, so there should be no opposition, apart from obviously the left-wing activists and politicians. Tories still have a majority, and all the Tory MPs are right behind this plan, which is absolutely good. Now, banning and actually making sure that the British exports to China, especially when it comes to tech, is actually more important than banning imports that's coming from China, because they have been stealing Western technology for a long time. They've been replicating and they've been accessing our data and using a number of companies and tech firms that they have in the West. And we did report a week or so ago that the CCP also have a number of about 2 million agents working in the West for big major corporations, from tech to finance, banking, everything else. So we have to be extra cautious now, and with everything that happened in 2020, this is just the beginning of this wave. So obviously the diplomatic ties between Britain and China have been weakened in the last year or so. It's interesting how things change so quickly, considering only a few years ago David Cameron sent George Osborne to China to lobby with the Chinese government to create a new network of trade with them. But it seems like the U-turn is now definitely on the card, and again, it will take some time for this actually to come into effect. But again, this channel will make sure that the government is held to account. Now, on this issue, a number of Tory MPs have been supportive. Ian Duncan-Smith, who's the former Tory leader, he's been lobbying for this for a long time. He's in the group, the China Research Group, that's against the CCP. He has welcomed the efforts to do this, but he has said that the steps are insufficient to deal with the growing problem we face with China. The Foreign Office said that our approach to China is rooted in our values and interests. However, where we have concerns, we raise them and hold China to account. Now, this is such a typical Foreign Office language that we have, that they just don't want to cause too much trouble. It's very, very British. And again, but this approach we've been having for a long time, for decades or over a century, with the enemies of the West. I don't think we should do that anymore. We've been doing it with Saudi as well, just because we needed the oil and also the influence in the Middle East against Iran. But at this point, we are creating a network of the alliance in the West, and with Australia and other countries, apart from New Zealand because of their links to China and the trade links, let's just say. But otherwise, Canada, the US, Australia, and the UK have been very strong on this, especially Australia. So we can be strong now. We can now stand up to China. So we should do this now. China, their influence has been going globally. With the Economic Forum, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, and people like Bill Gates have been hanging out with them because we need the global green movement everywhere. Bill Gates, the same guy who's been campaigning for this and is involved with the World Economic Forum and their projects, Great Reset, he's a massive hypocrite because he's been living his life for decades without actually doing what he's preaching. He's now been accused of hypocrisy again because his company, Cascade, is now going to take over Signature Aviation Friday. So that's basically a British private jet firm, servicing company that, to be fair, at this point, Bill Gates' company, Cascade, actually already owns 19% of the stake in that firm. But the plan is that they are teaming up with Blackstone to completely take over this firm. Is a private jet servicing company. Bill Gates, who's best friend with Greta Thunberg and Attenborough and all these others, they're telling people, everybody else, that you should completely abandon your lifestyle and the way you live, the way you've been raised, how to live on this planet, because we're all gonna die in about 9 years and 2 months. I'm just doing a countdown. Because they've been saying 10 years for the past 60 years, so I think at this point it's about 9 years now that we're going to die, so he's saying that everybody else should suffer. Just don't worry about me. I'm fine. This is typical one rule for them and one rule for the others, for the plebs out there. He's been hanging out with Michael Bloomberg. This is at the One Planet Summit back in 2017. They've been having these annual summits regularly. And now with the World Economic Forum, they're going to have more conferences every year as well. But speaking of one rule for them and the plebs, it's always happening. So the police in this country are doing the same thing, where we did expose them yesterday, a couple of days ago on this channel, that a number of police officers have been breaking the rules themselves, especially in Greenwich. They've been going to coffee shops, sitting down, drinking. But they've been going after a lot of ordinary people who just go for a walk, which is still under the regulation. It's allowed, and so now they're saying that they want to be able to fine people after a single warning. So before, they give you a warning, don't do it again, and then they're going to go hardcore. So I fully understand the situation right now is quite bad because winter crisis, like every winter, hospitals overwhelmed. Up to a point, depending on where you go, obviously, certain hospitals, certain areas. Some hospitals are still fine, certain hospitals are doing really badly, and with the current situation as well. But doesn't mean, so this is not me saying, well, this is just stupid, we should just not do anything about anything. No, this is simply about the fact that these measures are counterproductive, and public compliance has been going down because of this, and now they're going to go hardcore. Again, one rule for them and one rule for the others. Again, on that note, goes back to issue of migration. We have lefties, one of the left-wing MPs, Caroline Noakes, who was a Home Office minister until Boris Johnson came into power, and he kicked her out because she's too left-wing. She's now going against Priti Patel. She's teaming up with Labour politicians and the left-wing activist lawyers and everybody else, celebrities, saying that Priti Patel's new immigration policy of point-based system, and the fact that Priti's now started to enforce, finally, to enforce the deportations. So we can't stop the boats from coming in because the French authorities just keep sending them. But now the Border Force bringing them in, and then the Home Office actually goes through the process of sending them back. And obviously the activist lawyers are still going case by case. Every case goes to court, and the Home Office and Priti Patel are fighting against them. Now Caroline Noakes come out and saying that, oh, this is inhumane. It's an inhuman approach to immigration because we have to care about people. Yeah, but what about our people? And also the people who want to come here legally. So she's now done an interview with The Independent, Independent, saying that, she's accused the ministers of paying lip service to Wendy Williams and after the Windrush scandal. She's saying that they were failing to put people at the heart of Home Office policy. People? Which people are you talking about? Again, one rule for them, one rule for the others. Are we talking about the smugglers and the illegal migrants? Or should we put people at the heart of Home Office policy who are people who are here already, who are paying taxes, who've been living here, who've been contributing, and the people who want to come here legally, go through the process properly? No, that's what we should do. If you want to put anyone first, it has to be the people who should get the priority first. Now, on this issue of migration, everything's like going upside down, because when Sir Keir Starmer stood for leadership of the Labour Party, one of his pledges was to, regardless of Brexit, he wanted to bring back free movements with the European Union, because why not? That's just typical Keir Starmer. But now he's realised the mood in the country is completely changed. I mean, it was already changed, but now he finally can see it. He's made a U-turn, and now all the lefties are kicking up.
So would you reintroduce free movement of people?
Look, I don't think there's an argument for reopening those aspects of the treaty. We have a treaty. Andrew, just hear me out. We have a treaty. It's a thin treaty. It's not what was promised. But I'm very conscious of the fact that everything I'm doing, everything the Labour Party is doing, is geared and focused on winning a general election in 2024. If we win that election and a Labour government comes in, we will inherit that treaty.
You say you won't look again at the matter of free movement of people. Huge numbers of people in the Labour leadership election and in the country voted for you on the basis that you would do that because you told them you would do that.
Yeah, so this is happening. And then all his former allies are coming out against him. Carolyn Lucas from the Green Party tweeted, "Disappointing to watch Keir Starmer justify voting for what he acknowledges is a very damaging Brexit deal, and saddening that the Labour leader will no longer argue for the principle of free movement." John Nicholson, the other MP, has said that Starmer is telling Andrew Marr that he's changed his mind on free movement. So sad to see the extent to which Brexit has pushed the Labour Party to the right. Keir was once admirably an outspoken champion of free movement. Since when did Brexit become a right-wing thing? Since when did protecting your borders and believing in rule of law is a right-wing thing? This is the problem we have. Unfortunately, it is a right-wing thing. It's a conservative thing, but it shouldn't be. It should be a universal value for the British culture. And there was a time when even liberals were respecting that. Socialists, less so, but that was the whole problem. But the Labour Party have been so incompetent, even with the lockdown measures and everything else going on in the country. One of their MPs was on Sophie Ridge's show on Sky News yesterday, and Sophie, actually, rightly so, exposed the Labour Party because they're not being an actual opposition party. They are going with the government policy on everything, and then they call for the same policies, saying, "Oh, we should do a seventh lockdown." And when the government does it, they say, "Oh yeah, we should have done it in the first place." That's what you're calling for. They're already doing it.
I do sometimes wonder, it's quite easy to criticise the government, isn't it? Does Labour need to show a bit more leadership too, about a way out, about things that should be done in the future, rather than looking back to the past? In an interview with my colleague Sam Coates this week, for example, Keir Starmer said, "It's inevitable that schools will have to close and therefore they need to be part of the national restrictions package that needs to come into place." I mean, it's not really leadership to call for things that are already inevitable, is it?
It would help if the government would give a daily briefing where they told us how much supply of the vaccine is available, how much of the vaccine has actually been put into people's arms and in every part of the country, so that we can scrutinise the situation and see what's going on.
Interesting that you just called for more data on vaccines that I think we're expecting from Monday. So, handy that Labour's calling for something that we are expecting to see.
If they give what they've said they're going to give.
Yeah, this is the Labour Party we're dealing with at the moment. I don't understand why is it that I think about 38% of the public in the opinion polls are still voting for the Labour Party, are still supporting the Labour Party. God knows why. I know Boris Johnson's government haven't been perfect recently. They've caused a lot of trouble. But the alternative should not be the Labour Party. So this is the latest I have for you guys. The next video we're going to talk about a number of other issues, including answering questions that the members of the channel have sent. If you want to become a member and have access to a lot of perks that we have on a weekly basis, we have the video podcasts that's going to go out tonight, hopefully. Tonight or tomorrow, and the weekly video calls with the members on each Wednesday, and obviously the members Q&As today, and you get discounted merchandise, I believe, in Britain as well. So check out the link in the description, join, get your merchandise, subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching. I'm Tousi, and I'll see you guys in the next video.